Jim really quick. One of the other topics that people are asking is valuations, right? Yeah. And I know you being in the business for so long, having experienced the ups and downs, where do you think we are right now in terms of valuations, or what are your thoughts?
Well, there's more inventory that's coming on the market. I think there's a lot of pent-up demand, so there's a lot of demand, as we were breaking out of COVID. I still, I think we are getting back onto a normal trajectory as opposed to being this real upcycle.
Inflated.
The Bay Area, we are attracting the brightest, most ambitious people from all over the world for these great tech jobs, and and I don't see anything changing with that. And we're lucky here in the Tri-Valley that we are much more affordable, and I think, frankly, a much better lifestyle than other parts of the Bay Area. But we're also commutable to every single employment area of the Bay Area. So you may have a little bit of a commute, but it's a great place to be.
Right.
And we have great schools, great quality of life.
Right.
And that's what all of the tech people are looking for are those things.
Right. So you're, because I want to address the leaving California topic, right? And people are talking about it as if California is not going to have any people left, right? Which is ridiculous, because I think what you've alluded to is what I've experienced, which is the demand for housing is extraordinarily high.
Well, it's not
Still.
only that, but because of our zoning laws, because of just all the regulations, we are not building enough housing to fill the increasing need that we have. And it's not just the people who are migrating in, it is the family creations, all the baby boomers, all their kids are starting families, and the population keeps going up.
Right.
And here in the Bay Area, we've got hills you can't build on. You can't build on on the bay.
Right.
And there was a person that used to talk to a lot of the real estate companies, and she says, when you're buying a home here in the Bay Area, you're really buying the land, and you sort of get the house for free.
And the weather.
but it is a $1 million house, which is very modest nowadays. In another part of the country, that might be worth only $200,000.
Right.
But also,
But it's everything that this place has to offer, that other states that cannot offer. And I would say, whatever people say, the same amount of people that are leaving California
Are coming in.
Yeah. So it's I don't think we're losing, really.
no.
Right?
And and I tracked housing values when we had the .com bust, and I tracked a subdivision in San Ramon every 5 years from the year it was built in 63 to 68, 73, 78, and so on. And here's what I found: whether you bought in a peak market or a valley market, 10 years later the prices had doubled. Wow. Except in the 70s when it tripled.
Right.
And we have ups and downs, but it always keeps going up eventually. And so my advice to my clients is, and especially first-time buyers, buy something that is affordable. You don't have to buy your dream home. Just buy something that is affordable for you. If you're living in a two-bedroom, 2-bath apartment, look at what a 2-bedroom, 2-bath condominium is going to be.
Yeah.
And you'll find that when you take into account the principal pay down, at these low interest rates, 40% of your money is going into principal every single year. I mean, every single month. Whereas when I bought my first place at 11 7/8% interest, I mean, that
Remember
much.
those?
Right.
11%,
No.
13%.
Oh, I was in the 18%.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
I sold real
18%.
estate.
I was gonna say, the following
Yeah.
year when it was 18%, I just
Yes,
thought I had gone to
yes.
heaven.
And people are still complaining about 3%
I know.
nowadays.
Yeah,
No,
all-
yeah.
it's
I just wanna slap
It's all
them.
about perspective.
But, that, the tax advantages that you have, as soon as you buy a house, you can go into your HR department and say, I want to increase my exemptions and
Right.
get extra money back in my paycheck.
Right.
And
And-
especially with the appreciation nowadays,
Well,
right? Like,
If you don't even take into account appreciation, you're probably close to break even what you were paying in rent. But the real beauty is when you take into account appreciation, and I don't think anything is going to be different for the next 20 or 30 years that wasn't, for the past 50 years. If you take that into account, you are actually able to live in that house for free.
right.
Yeah,
And,
You just
and
have to
own
be
it.
able to write the check every month.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't dare tell you when I bought my house, what I paid for it,
No.
and what it's worth today.
Yeah.
You would go, oh my gosh, which I still can't believe, because I bought my house back in 1969,
Wow.
Like
Okay.
probably for 100,000.
32.5,
Oh wow.
32,000.
and on a half acre of land in Walnut Creek.
Oh wow. Wow. Insane.
And now, the last
Yeah.
appraisal, 1.6.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh.
I can't
Insane.
afford to buy my own house.
None of us can.
But even in the past, like in Solano County where I work a lot also, like I've noticed like for the past 6-7 months, it's like 120,000 appreciation, like
Yes,
the
yeah,
equity.
yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah,
You know, houses that used to be like around the 470 range, now it's like in the 600s
Yeah.
yeah,
within the past 6-7
Right.
months.
Well, and I think a lot of the buyers are afraid, oh, this is gonna be a bubble that's gonna crash. And, and I keep telling them, you only have to worry about it if you have to sell.
Right.
And if you finance it properly, a lot of people think, oh, I'll put, every single dime I've got into a down payment. I think that's one of the worst things that someone can do. I'd much rather have $100,000 in their bank account and then maybe have, a little bit higher mortgage payment. And, if they have to take a little bit of money out of that nest egg, for the next, year or so, they'll never be able to borrow money this cheap again.
Yeah.
Right.
no.
Yeah.
And then the other part of it is, if it, and if there is a decline and they have to move, they don't have to sell. They can probably rent the place out for what their
Yeah.
cash
Yeah.
flow is. And, if they've, kept their nest egg, they can move on to their next opportunity.
So they can just cash out, just keep the property as an investment property, right?
Exactly.
Get like the same as you pay for your mortgage, rent it for the same amount, and then just cash
Right.
out like the equity that you've got, and then invest it into like a property in a different state.
Yeah,
You can probably like buy it in full, right?
Painful.
yeah.
Yeah. My, because people ask that all the time, the bubble question. And for me, it's much more black and white. What I mean by that is, back in 2005, 2006, 2007, we were lending to people who had no right borrowing.
Right.
And we were giving 100% financing with products that were gonna blow up in terms of payment. And so when they crested in terms of valuations and people couldn't make those payments, there was no skin in the game. They didn't have, so if they were gonna default on our mortgage, I mean, millions of people left their homes, right? Because there was nothing to sacrifice.
Yeah,
Their
they
credit
did
got
not
affected.
lose their homes.
No,
They just walked
no.
away.
Today, you've got 20% down, 25% down, people putting 50% down, right? So their
All cash.
blood, sweat,
Yeah.
and tears are going into this asset. And so if, let's say people do say, now's the time to sell, and so there's a glut of inventory, you're still not gonna have people selling so much that they're willing to lose the equity that they've put in. And so I think it's gonna keep valuations up. I do see things leveling off, right? And I love that because we need to get to a normal,
Yes.
What
market.
the new normal is.
Yes, where,
Yeah, but the thing is, again, once it levels up, right, like it comes down, then the interest rates, what's gonna happen?
yes, typically,
So-
yes. We'll see, the feds could keep those rates down, but I will say, I am actually a champion of normal rates, right? Being, let's get into, a higher threshold, because our country has to pay back debt.
Right.
And so it's the only way to do it is for the, federal funds rate to increase, which drives, traditional, fixed rates up. And we have to do that in order to sustain an America, right, a future, right, for our kids that has a light at the end of the tunnel that's not a train, right? And so the only way to do that is to get back to a normal market where rates are a little bit higher than they are now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Non-contingent offers. Right now, it's still a seller's market.
Yeah.
We may not be getting 15 offers, but we may still be getting 5. And 4 people are gonna be losers, and next time, they're gonna be all competing against each other again. And I'm seeing a lot of people who have any contingencies whatsoever in their contract not getting the house.
Right.
So they have to write off all contingencies, which is a little scary.
Yeah.
As far as the loan, because that is something that's really out of their control.
Yeah.
How do you help guard someone if they have to write off a loan contingency?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we have a fast track. We call it fast track. It's a program where we can actually put a pre-qualified borrower into underwriting and get an official underwritten stamp of approval for a max purchase price. And so that's one way to ensure that this income, especially self-employed income, I won't get into the details of how challenging it is to underwrite a self-employed borrower. That's a whole other topic. But for those borrowers, you want to know that they're going to qualify based on how the underwriter is going to view it. So we have this way of making that work. But so generally speaking, I'll share a story from today. I got a call from an agent who had an offer in their hand from one of my borrowers, and they're putting 20% down, and so the offer was X dollars, and the agent said, I don't even know if it's going to appraise for that, right? And so they've lifted loan contingencies because we had put them through the fast track, and they lifted appraisal contingency. And she called me and she said, I want to make sure that if it doesn't appraise, right, what's your fallback? Is your borrower willing to come in, with additional funds? And my answer to that is maybe, but it actually doesn't matter, because with the financing, we can go above 80%, right? So we can go to 90% loan to value without the borrower coming out of pocket with any additional money. What? How is that possible, right? So you have, if you're putting, and I'll just share $1 million as an example. So if you have $1 million and 800,000 is the loan, and they're coming in with 200,000, right? And the value comes in at 950, right? So now we no longer have an 80% loan to value. We have an 85% loan to value, right? Well, that's still lendable, right? And then there's going to be mortgage insurance potentially, right? So the payment might go up a little bit, but we didn't qualify this person at 49.9, right? We have them a little, so there's cushion, right? So that's what I told her. I said, if the value came in, 75,000 below the appraised or the offer price, they're still okay with that. And I've already walked my clients through that being a potential, because they had to go way over asking, right? And so I said, are you willing to make this extra, mortgage insurance payment? Yes, right? So that's one way to make a non-contingent offer work and still be safe.
Okay.
Yeah, that's gonna close.
Great point.
It's a great question. Yeah, that's a great question.
Okay.
Yeah, this has been fabulous.
Yeah.
It's been
Yeah,
a lot
thank
of
you for
great
putting this
info.
together, allowing us
Yes.
to come together and.
Appreciate it.
Thank you all for coming and sharing your stories, and we hope we were able to answer many buyers' questions, and we're looking to gather like that every once in a while, so we're going to have this coming up way more often. So if you would like to be a part of that, or know anybody that might be interested, a friend or a family that are looking to buy, to sell, to finance, refinance, I'm gonna leave the information down below the video, so you can subscribe and leave me your comment, and we're gonna invite you to the next event. Right? Thank you for joining.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, everybody.
All right.